actual gunshots. But I'll be damned if we didn't maybe just find a smoking gun. 2 years of searching and nothing until right now. I cannot believe this!
In the last video, we began inspecting the wire harness to see if it could potentially be problematic. More importantly, I finally learned how to use my picoscope and was able to gather some cam and crank signal data, but nothing was really jumping out as being obviously wrong. At least with the data I was being given, it seemed like the cams were doing what they were supposed to be doing. Regardless, I was eager to jump in and replace some parts, so we replaced the cam sealing rings on the cam phaser reluctor. To see if we could get the problem to move, I swapped the bank 1 cam adjusters with bank 2 adjusters at the same time, put it all back together, and fired it up.
Nope, nope, nope. This is actually unbelievable.
Unfortunately, the car still misfired on bank 1, doing the exact same thing it's done for 2 years. A lot of you guys had a lot of ideas about what this problem could be, whether it's oil control or wire harness or the aftermarket mods on the car or the tune. I read all of your comments and they're all good suggestions. So if you're wondering, is this guy even listening to what we're saying?
Trust me guys, I'm listening. A lot of you are saying, check the wiring harness, check the wiring harness. It's a short to ground, it's a short to positive. It's oil from the cam solenoids or cam position sensors. It's super common on the Mercedes. I know, I get it. I checked. It was one of the first things that I checked like 2 years ago. What, you don't believe me? Take a look. This is just one example. If we pop the, this is the intake cam solenoid plug on bank 1. Bone dry. Bone dry. And I can assure you every other plug on this side, like the exhaust position sensor, the exhaust solenoid, the intake solenoid, all these plugs are bone dry. Plugs of the ECU, also bone dry. I'm not saying it's not the harness. There could be a problem with the harness that you can't visually see with your eyes. I mean, electricity and current and resistance and voltage drop and all that stuff is a little strange. All I'm saying is I have not visually seen any problems with the harness on this car yet, and I've been looking. I've got the air boxes back on because I just had this thing running, but I've basically removed most of the insulation, checking all they call them Z splices here on Mercedes. It's basically where they splice wires together, looking for oil, looking for brakes, looking for anything, and I've found nothing. So what I'd like to continue doing is checking data with the picoscope and seeing if we can find something that the cams are doing at 1500 RPMs that the ECU is not liking. However, to do that diagnosis, I need to have the car running, and I need to have it running for a long period of time. And unfortunately, outside right now, it's about 12 degrees and extremely windy. We're in the middle of a crazy cold snap here in early winter in New Hampshire. So I'm trying to think of things I can do with the doors closed and keep this project moving forward, maybe cross one more thing off the list. And as much as I hate to do it, it might be considered firing the parts cannon again. Yep, I bought an entire engine harness for this car. And I actually bought it 8 months ago, 7 months ago. The W212 E63 with the M156 is an extremely rare car. They only made about 11,000 of these E-Class sedans with the M156. Of course, it's 15 years old now, so you can't get new parts for it from the dealership, or at least parts like this. This harness is discontinued, and they come up on eBay never. So when this one came up on eBay from an 80,000 mile car for I think 220 or 230 bucks this past May, I grabbed it. I said, even if the harness is not my problem, I'd like to own it as a spare for this car. And if and when we eventually get this sorted out, if it turns out it's not the harness, then we can, either, again, keep this as a spare or sell it, move it down the road. Maybe even make a buck. I think that's a great price for a harness that usually would go for $500 to $600 if you can even find them. I have not seen one pop up since then. So the plan is to potentially eliminate the harness as an issue, assuming that harness is good, which seller said it was. I'm gonna see if I can temporarily hook up this harness, meaning plug in all the coils, all the fuel injectors, all this stuff, all the cam solenoids, plugs, sensors, everything that I can get to, and then run the harness right over the fender here into the ECU while leaving my existing harness there. And we're gonna see if we can get the car running. That can at least help us to eliminate the harness and at least keep this project moving. I have not been able to work on this thing for a couple of days because of the weather, because I really need to have it running to gather cam and crank signals and all that stuff. So I've got the harness. It's been sitting in a box in the basement for 8 months now. I'm gonna see how painful it's gonna be to at least get the absolute requirement plugs plugged in with this harness. And we'll see if we can run this car on harness number 2 and see if the problem does anything different. Let's crank up the heat and get to work. All right, well, I would say believe it or not, but it looks like a disaster. Believe it or not, there is 2 wiring harnesses on this motor, and only one of them is hooked up. Well, 98% of one. I got everything hooked up. It was very, very tight. Surprisingly hard to get 2 wiring harnesses in an area where it was already tight for one. So that is what most of this time has been spent doing. Is trying to get, you know, room for both the wiring loom and the plugs and everything else. But she's hooked up. We are hooked up here down at the ECM. Got all the coils hooked up, all the cam solenoids and cam sensors and throttle body stuff. The only thing we're missing, I mean, knock sensors are hooked up, but they're just going to be hanging out up here. These 2 plugs right here on the driver's side bank, I think these go to power steering and maybe AC, which we don't really need right now, hopefully. There's one connector down here on the bottom of the thermostat that's basically impossible to get, so I'm going to see if we can get away without doing that. But I did get the coolant temp sensor in there, all the coils, all the fuel injector wires, crank sensor, intake air temp sensor, the O2 sensors underneath the car, alternator plug. There's like a main power plug here, mass airflow sensors. So I think we got everything we need. I'm going to hook up the battery. I think I'll turn the key on, see what codes we get, probably a couple. Hopefully this thing doesn't burn to the ground, or, you know, maybe that would be a blessing. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world right now. But if all goes well there, we will fire this thing up and see if it still misfires on bank 1, in which case we know pretty confidently at this point we can rule out a harness issue. We'll see what happens. Nothing on fire yet. All right, scanner hooked up. Let's go key on. I hear the throttle body's doing throttle body things. They appear to be moving like they're supposed to. Anything on fire yet? All right, I just cleared the trouble codes, which was just cylinders 1 through 4 misfire, which is clearly from the last time. And now there is no codes. So let's just double check we don't have any wires like laying on the header. give it a final once over and fire this thing up. This harness, I think, is actually, it looks like it's in worse shape than mine. The fuel injector connectors are super brittle. Most of the insulation is missing from them, so I put some liquid electrical tape on there. But just visually, my harness looks better than this one. So we'll see how this thing runs, if it runs worse or if we change anything at all. But find out. Here comes the cold. Two harnesses, one engine. Still a couple misfires on bank one at first start. Let's see what we got for codes. Coolant thermostat. Yeah, that's that one. So I think the fan is on, but not bad for just plugging in a harness. All right, let's watch it do the exact same thing. There we go. Exact same thing. Well, I'm not the least bit surprised. Some of you guys, might be. You guys are saying, can't believe this guy can't figure out he's got a shorted harness, or his harness is the problem. Well, I've done a pretty thorough inspection of my original harness and have not found a single issue yet. In fact, I think it's in much better shape than this harness I just installed. But 100% completely different harness just installed on my M156. It does the exact same thing. Misfires all down bank one. So we've ruled out the ECU. We've ruled out the wiring harness itself. We've ruled out all the cam position sensors, all the cam solenoids. Everything is still pointing back towards something to do with oil control to the variable valve timing on this bank. I don't know. As you guys saw on the B-roll, I took the valve cover off a day or so ago and just inspected the cam and inspected that upper bridge thing, and didn't see any crazy wear, but this might be the point where if this thing is ever going to get fixed, it's time to tear down bank one. I hope I don't need a new head, but I might hop on the internet now and get one on the way here just in case. We'll go from there, but I'm going to keep plugging away. I'll keep you guys updated.
So at this point, I worked on getting the eBay harness out of the car and my original harness all hooked back up to get the car running again. From there, I decided to take some of your guys' suggestions and check all of the signals that we've been checking before, instead of at the connector, but at the ECM this time.
Solenoids on both banks, or exhaust anyways, look like they're doing the exact same thing.
I checked solenoids, I checked sensors, didn't see anything jumping out, so I decided to follow my gut, tear down bank one, remove the valve covers, cam adjusters, cam caps, cams, see what we could find.
Well, you guys know I've spent a lot of hours standing right here on this hard concrete floor diagnosing this Mercedes. Even though other parts of my body might hurt, thankfully my feet don't. And that's thanks to these Brunt boots right here. These ones in particular are the Omen, and I love these because they are slip-on, slip-off, easy to run in the house if I need something, but still have that all-day comfort. And all-day comfort is the case for just about every pair of Brunt boots, no matter the model. These are the original Marin soft toe boot. I have been wearing these since 2022. These are my go-to, go-through-anything boot. Main point here is I'm in Brunt boots almost all day, every day, and the reason that I'm in them is because they are the most comfortable footwear I own. They're EH rated, slip resistant, and they're gonna give you that all-day comfort that you need. In fact, Brunt is so confident in their boot, they're gonna let you try them on the job site risk-free. If you don't like them for whatever reason, just send them back, but I think you guys are gonna like them. So check out Brunt boots, use my code ChrisSullivan10 for $10 off your first purchase. Now that we know my feet are comfortable, let's see if we can finish this thing out. Well, we are really into it now. Nothing new on this whole misfire debacle. But after a few hours of checking cam position signals at the ECM per your guys' suggestion, I didn't see anything different than what we saw at the sensors themselves in the last video, which also lines up with our whole test of a brand new harness that didn't change anything. So I have dove headfirst back into a potential mechanical issue causing an oil control issue, which is therefore causing a variable valve timing control issue. That was a lot, I know, but bear with me. So I removed all of the cams, the adjusters, the cams, undid all of the cam caps or cam bearings. You do a quarter turn at a time until you've released all the pressure off of the buckets, which are over here. These are the Black Series buckets. They've got about 10,000 miles on them. They all look fantastic. Came out no problem just with my fingers. Once those are removed, we can put the cams back in and then we can spin them freely to check for wear patterns, see if anything feels like it's binding up. And I've done that on both banks, basically because I'm assuming that this bank is good. We don't have any misfires over here. And we can now compare our good bank over here to bank 1, which has had misfires on it since day 1. I've got the cam bridges off because, as I mentioned in the last video, I broke this bridge, the top bridge part rather, when I was doing all of the head bolts and buckets and the cam adjuster rebuild and all that. And this is just a random set that I got off eBay. It's interesting actually, I forgot about on bank 2, the bottom part of this cam bearing is part of the head, like physically part of the head. So if this went bad, you need a whole new head. On the bank 1 here, it's a 2-piece like clamshell thing. I'll show you on the bench in a second, but this bottom part comes out. So I took both of them off. So here's bank 1, our problematic bank. Here's bank 2. We look at them side by side. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that on camera, but it's more of like a dull finish on this one, which is bank 1. I'm wondering if that is increased wear, which could be a clearance issue. Same thing over here. This one's got like more of a dull finish. Yeah, that's you can kind of see it there. And it extends like farther down than the other ones. On this would be the exhaust bank there. Does that mean anything? I don't know. Here's my original one. For some reason I saved it, and I'm glad I did. I can't find this piece, but this is where it broke because I improperly tightened them down. It's got some wear there, but it's not, it's not as bad as that one. But who knows? I mean, just looking for a smoking gun still. Anyways, I got this stuff. You guys might be familiar with it. It's called Plastigauge, and it's basically, I've never used it before, so we're going to learn together. But it's basically a way of measuring bearing clearances. You put down a little piece of plastic across the bearing surface and then assemble it, like smush it together, pull it apart and see basically how wide the smushed area is, and it tells you your clearance. Now, of course, the only people that know the camshaft bearing clearance for the M156 are the folks over at AMG, and I doubt they're going to respond to my email. So what I'm going to do is, again, assume that bank 2 is good, and I'm going to attempt to measure the camshaft bridge bearing clearance on bank 2 and compare it to bank 1. See what we find. No excessive wear on the camshafts themselves. They look good. Looks exactly the same as bank 2, but I would expect the aluminum bridge would be what wears out as opposed to the hardened steel camshaft. So, you know, it doesn't look bad, but is that enough that we have oil pressure bleed off out, out the sides here, that we can no longer accurately control the variable valve timing on bank one? I don't know. Let's find out. All right, my first time using Plastigauge. We'll do it together. So there's what it looks like, just a little piece of like wax. Make sure the surface is surgically clean. How long has this been on the shelf at the auto parts store? Why is it so brittle? All right, we got one on there. This is clean. Let's cleanly put this down. We're gonna torque this to spec, which is 10 Newton meters. It's torqued down. Now we can remove it, see what it looks like. Huge amount of clearance. I don't even know if that's going to measure. I mean, it's greater than 3 thousandths. I don't even want to say it. I'm scared to say it. But I'll be damned if we didn't maybe just find a smoking gun. 2 years of searching for something that says, yeah, this is a problem, and nothing until right now. Let's start with the data, the hard facts. And although, Plastigauge is more of a, in the ballpark kind of thing, I think this data is useful. Bank one, I took an initial measurement with the green stuff, which is your 1 thou to 3 thou clearance. Basically didn't even read, so then I moved to the red stuff and got over 6 thou on the intake and around 5 thou on the exhaust. Moved over to bank two, which is the good bank, and got, I think it was just under 4 thou and about 3 thou on the exhaust. So like half of what we had on bank one. So already we have way more clearance on the cam bridge on bank one compared to bank two. Then, just for fun, I decided to do a little test. I removed all of the cam caps with the exception of the cam bridge. This is torqued to spec, 10 Newton meters, and both cams are in there. They move freely, no big deal. And I've got my ancient Chinesium Pittsburgh Harbor Freight dial indicator here, but you really don't even need it. Just listen or watch. You can probably see it. Yeah, that's every bit of like 8 thou of play in this cam. And that's up and down. That's not back and forth. That's up, down, up, down. I'm not an engine builder, but that didn't seem right to me. Same thing on the exhaust cam. Maybe slightly less, but audibly, there's play there. So that seemed like a problem to me. So then I wanted to come over here and check compared to the, 3 to 4 thou clearance, allegedly, according to the Plastigauge. Nothing. You can hear some squishing of oil a little bit, but absolutely nothing. These things do not move up and down. And the dial indicator showed like 1 to maybe 2 thou of play. Other than that, these things are solid. So this compared to this. So what does this mean? Well, here's my theory. All this extra clearance, there's oil pressure ports in here. All this extra clearance now is causing all the oil pressure to bleed off in here. So it's not a problem with the crankshaft bearings or the engine is healthy, but we have oil pressure bleeding off here, which is therefore reducing the pressure that this whole bank sees and therefore it is unable to control the solenoids once they get up here with the correct amount of oil pressure. Why does it only happen at 1500 RPM? I don't know. At idle, I'm pretty sure the cams on these things are locked and there's probably zero oil pressure, very little oil pressure going to the cam adjusters because the computer does not want to, advance or retard timing. Above 2000 RPMs where it seems to run fine, my guess is the M156 oil pump just makes so much oil pressure and has so much oil volume, it's able to overcome that. So the only question that's still on my mind is, why did this motor run perfectly for 10,000 miles and then seemingly all of a sudden just start to have this problem? It's weird, right? I don't know. Perhaps the clearance was close enough on the replacement cam bridge here that the oil pressure was fine for a while. And then on that cold morning that I was going to the airport, that fateful day, way up top of the motor, camshaft's usually the last part of the motor to get oil pressure. Maybe it just had that final little bit of wear that opened up that tolerance to the point that the cams could, no longer be controlled by the solenoids. Or maybe it was a little bit of it both. Maybe it was eroding over the past 10,000 miles. I don't know. We still don't know if this is the actual problem. The point is, this is the first smoking gun or actual verifiable difference between bank 1 and bank 2, where bank 1 is showing a problem and bank 1 is where I have the misfires. So even though this is bad, I'm excited. See how excited I am that my car is broken? This is how you know it's been an absolute bear of a diagnosis process, is when you're happy when you find something that's messed up. Isn't this great, you guys? All right, let me figure out what to do next. Well, I ordered some parts. Somebody let your boy loose on eBay. So here is the wrong way, technically, to fix this issue. And here's the right way. And to recap, here's our problem. We have play in this cam bridge, the one that I broke in half and then replaced with this one right here. These are line honed or line bored in like a CNC machine to make sure that they are all perfectly straight. So technically you're not supposed to just slap in a new cam bridge, which is exactly what I did last time. Thing is, I just slapped this one in. I never checked clearances. For all I know, it has done this the whole time. I think the only thing that I did was made sure that it rotated, which, it obviously did, but I never checked play or clearance or anything like that. So what I did is I went and I got a bunch of new cam caps. And my theory here is I'm going to see if I can find a set that gives me the right clearance and see if we can get away with fixing this issue without replacing the whole cylinder head. So I also labeled these. Here is my original set, my original bridge, bottom and top. You can see I labeled them number 1. You can see where I broke it because I didn't torque it down properly. So there's that, that's labeled. And this is just so I don't mix any of them up. Number 2 set, top and bottom, is in the vehicle. So this is the set that I put in here in, what would that have been? September of 2022 or September, October of 2022. Here is number 3. Jan over at E63 Motorsports sent this over to me. He has been hugely helpful in this whole misfire debacle, just because he cares about the M156 and M159 community. He has been trying to help me diagnose this for a couple years now. and has obviously provided a few parts for this car before the misfire issue. So huge shout out to Jan, huge shout out to 63 Motorsports for continuing to support the M156 platform. But Jan, I told him about what I found. He said, I think I got one of these on the shelf. I'll get it right out to you. So shout out Jan. So there's number 3. And then just so I had some more options, I found another complete set, top and bottom, on eBay. So this is now set number 4. Now, here is the right way to fix this issue. A complete cylinder head, including all matching cylinder caps. So I got this because I figured this would be good to have in case this doesn't work. Unfortunately, the seller on eBay figured that, a beat up cardboard box taped to another beat up cardboard box and 3 pieces of bubble wrap was good enough to ship a cylinder head. So this thing didn't show up in great shape. The lifters all kind of fell out and were loose in the box. 2 of them are jammed down here, near the timing gear there. If we flip this thing over, we've got nicks in the deck. There's a giant nick here right at the sealing surface. Another one right there. Another imperfection there. Another one right there. Another one right there. I mean, this head just got beat up. The guide is broken. Not that I bought it for the guide anyways. These just press out. But this was from a specialist place that parts out Mercedes, and they have thousands of Mercedes parts for sale. You'd think that they would know how to ship a cylinder head, but a cardboard box and a couple things of bubble wrap is not it. No tape, securing this thing to itself and actually making sure it was tight. Just some plastic bubble wrap loosely thrown in a box, boom, across the country from California or wherever this thing came. Very disappointing. I got a great deal on this head. It was, $220 shipped, when I think a lot of these things usually go for $500 or $600. But, that's a bummer for myself. It's a bummer for the seller, because now this has to go through some sort of claims department, because this is really, in my opinion, not a good cylinder head. So my plan was to not touch any of these cam caps, because this, I want to keep these together, because this is a full set, machined by AMG. But now that this head might potentially not be usable, I'm not really sure yet. I could probably get this milled, but I don't know. These lifters are a throwaway item, so I really don't care about this. I just wanted to show you guys, M156s are known for eating lifters. And that's exactly it. You see this convex shape there? That's because the cam was starting to wear through this. Eventually you can get all the way through and into the valve spring there. This is more, totally flat. This is what it's supposed to look like. So this lifter was about to fail. Maybe that's why this motor was taken apart. So anyways, right now I think what I'm gonna do is do a whole bunch of trial and error and measurements on this side. Try out the different bridge setups that I have. See if I can get the tolerance to match with the plastic gauge to bank 2, which is a known good side. We'll do some measurements with a dial indicator and just make sure it rotates freely, get as close as we can to the factory OEM spec, and see if we can get away without replacing a cylinder head, because that is a massive job on this engine. So if I can get away with, $100 worth of bridges and a little bit of time and some measurements, I'm gonna do it. So let's do that. Ding, 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 ding. I think we have a winner. Set number 4 is looking like the best. So to recap, set number 1, this is what originally came out of the car. Obviously the top is not usable, so that's out. So then we had the bottom half of set number 1. Set number 2, I'm assuming that both of these are junk, just because of all the play that we had, so I'm just not even going to include those. Jan from 63 Motorsports only had the top cap to send me, so we have the top of number 3, and then we had a full set of number 4. So that basically left these 4 combinations. So I made myself a little chart of criteria that these combinations needed to pass in order to be potentially successful. First of all, once torqued down, they needed to rotate freely and have no play. And then I cleaned everything off, put plastic gauge on them, and we measured the clearance. Clearance on all of them was pretty good. None of them, of course, were nearly as bad as what came out. What is interesting is this one, for example, top of 4 and bottom of 1, the original one from this car, clearance was about 3 thousandths, which is pretty good. I mean, assuming bank 2 is good. The cams wouldn't rotate. They locked up. Bottom of 1 and top of 3 was pretty good. They rotated freely, didn't have any play, 4 thousandths of clearance. Top 4, bottom 4, that's what's in there right now, rotated freely and had 4 thousandths of clearance. Top 3, bottom 4, same thing, just with about 5 thou on intake and 4 thou on exhaust. The reason I think I'm going to go with set number 4 here is exactly that. It's a set. I think it's probably best to keep the top and bottom pairs matching. At least those are definitely machined together. And if you learn anything from this right here, that even though the clearance looked good, but the cam locked up, you know, maybe not a good idea to be mixing a top of one and a bottom of another. But again, you never know. It's really hard to tell just doing plastic gauge and just by feel, but this is about all we can do here. And I feel really good about this. So this is the winning set in here. This is number 4. Here's the intake cam. Rotates like butter. And nothing. 0 play. Just like on bank 2. Same thing with the exhaust cam. Rotates absolutely beautifully. Nothing. No play at all. If we compare that to before, where these things were moving like 8 thou and were, you know, just rattling around in there, that is really good. So I think we're going to be good. Again, that is only if this is our issue. I have a strong suspicion that this is what's causing the issue because I don't know what else it could be at this point, but we still don't know for sure. And we're not going to know until we get it reassembled. So let's put everything back together. few hours of work later, top end is back together. All 32 lifters back in, cams are back in, the cam caps are painstakingly torqued back down. It's kind of tedious doing that. You got to do like quarter turn at a time, quarter turn at a time, quarter turn at a time, and so on and so forth, evenly to bring the cam down, bring pressure down onto the valve springs. And then learning from my lesson last time, I just put this bridge on last, since I'm pretty sure this is really just to keep the cam from moving back and forth. And these caps themselves, you can see they're between the valves, are what are holding it down per se. So that takes a lot of time bent over the fender, but we got her done. Cam adjusters are back on. Timing is done. Timing lined up absolutely perfectly. Both banks. Crank is at 40 degrees. Everything should be good. Got the cam adjuster covers back on. So all that is left to do is get the valve covers back on, plug in a few connections, coil packs, air boxes, and we can fire this thing up and see if anything has changed. Something. Give me something. All right, once again, back together, minus, of course, a few trim pieces. I think we're good to fire this thing up. There we go. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, it's like 50 degrees today. It's January in New England. Sometimes it's -10, sometimes it's 50. You never know, but good day to have the doors open and run our E63. Well, she sounds good, or sounds the same as she has for a while. You guys know the deal. We're gonna get some smoke from the oil burning off the headers that we spilled from removing the valve covers. You can hear the lifters ticking a little bit, probably because they were out on the bench here draining oil for a week. So we'll wait till those get pumped back up, get this thing nice and hot, and we'll see if we start getting misfires all over bank one. I don't know what to think right now. The pit in my stomach that says we still didn't fix this. I don't know how, but we finally found something that appears to be bad, but I don't know. I've just been disappointed so many times with this thing. Oh yeah. You gotta get to work on this thing too. Alright, got Zentry hooked up here. Not a good sign. Startup. We already have 2 misfires on 1 and 4. You know what? Let's just bite the bullet. Let's just rev it up. Watch the misfires go up. I cannot believe this! What the What is left that this could be? Alright, just for fun, I just finished the teach-in process for the camshafts in Zentry. I've done this 100 times, but let's just see if that helps, considering we just had the camshafts completely out. I am so defeated right now. Should have known better with this car. I hate this car. Oops, sorry BMW, looks like we blew some condensation on you. I don't know, guys. Might be another winter where I just drive this thing with the cam solenoids unplugged. It's been on the lift for 6 weeks now, and I've gotten nowhere, apparently. Anyway, it's due for an oil change. I think I'm gonna put the ECU back in the fender here, put stuff back together, slam the hood, and drive it into the swamp over here. Oh, good. Oh, good morning. Here's New England for you. It's gone from freezing cold to 50 degrees to back to freezing cold in one video. Let's start this thing. Not expecting this. Huh. I was not expecting that. Actual gunshots. Horrendous misfires. Barely started. Took like 7 tries. Now it's burning away. I don't know, let's take it to the gym. get some sun in here. Also, check it out. Gray hoodies. Fresh off the press, just got them. They're in stock. Limited quantities available if you guys want the gray with the black ink instead of the black with the white ink. Sullivan-co.com. Well, we made it to the gym. Car didn't blow up. Not sure if I'm happy or sad about that. I had to take a few days break from this thing because I was this close to lighting this thing on fire and letting it roll down the hill into the Atlantic Ocean. And that would be that. So after I finished the oil change the other night, I took it out and kind of gave it a good beating. Really just drove this thing, got it way hot, and she rips. I was kind of hoping that it would blow up and then we'd actually have something to fix instead of being stuck in this misfire purgatory that we're in. But of course she didn't. She continued to rip like she always does. And then I parked it on the side of the house, and that's where it sat until this morning where it barely started. So what's going on? No idea. Nothing. I can't believe I'm saying this for probably the 100th time, but nothing has changed. It's running exactly the same as it was 2 years ago, just driving around with the cam solenoid unplugged. As far as the hard start this morning, I don't know. Could be because this car has not had to start in that kind of cold weather in a year now. I've reset the fueling, trims and readapted this and readapted that 100 times. So it's possible that the computer was just relearning, cold start fuel trims. I don't know. It's running just fine right now, obviously with check engine light, but I don't really know where to go from here, you guys, short of just once again staring at data, trying to see if I can figure something out. But I think at this point we've eliminated the ECU, we've eliminated the wiring harness. It's not coils, it's not fuel injectors, it's not spark plugs. I replaced the O2 sensors at the start of this whole thing. I've rebuilt the intake manifold. We've checked for vacuum leaks. I mean, I'm gonna run out of fingers here, and I don't even know who's driving the car right now, but we have done just about everything I can think of. So I guess I'm back to the drawing board on this one. I'm gonna start working on the M5 to try my hand at another black German four-door vehicle and see if my luck is any better. But if you guys have any great suggestions in the comments other than emailing Alex at Legit Street Cars, that'd be awesome. So let me know what you guys think. I apologize for another video where we don't have a solution, but I can assure you I am more upset than you are. So if you enjoy watching me suffer, leave the video a thumbs up, leave your comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Or maybe this thing will blow up and then we can actually do something. I don't know.